Fatima was the owner of the small hair salon at the corner of Ogby Street. She was a short, chubby woman with a round face full of dark spots and tired eyes that always seemed half-closed. Her hair was thin and dry, pulled back into a tight bun that did nothing to hide her rough edges. Fatima never smiled fully. When she did, it looked more like a grimace, as if she was in pain. But she was known for her skillful hands. Her customers always left her shop looking beautiful, their hair shining and bouncing with every step they took. But Fatima hated them. She hated their smooth skin, their shiny hair, and the way they laughed without a care in the world. She hated how they talked about their weddings, showing off their rings and talking about their perfect fiancés. Fatima never had a wedding. No one ever asked her to marry them. No one even looked at her twice. She spent her days making other women beautiful, while she remained ugly and alone. It wasn't fair. Today, Adeyabi was sitting in her chair. Fatima's eyes followed Adeyabi's reflection in the mirror. Adeyabi's skin was flawless, the color of golden honey. Her eyes sparkled as she laughed, her smile wide and full of perfect white teeth. Her hair was thick and long, flowing down her back like a black waterfall. Adeyabi was beautiful and she knew it. Fatima gripped the comb tightly, her knuckles turning white. She felt the familiar bitterness rising in her chest, burning like hot coal. She swallowed hard, forcing herself to smile. "I can't believe it's just 2 weeks to my wedding," Adeyabi said, her eyes shining with excitement. "I'm so nervous but so happy. Chaik is the best. He treats me like a queen." Fatima's smile wavered, but she quickly recovered. "You're so lucky," she said, trying to keep her voice light. "Chaik is a good man." "Yes, he is." Adeyabi beamed, her happiness radiating like sunlight. "He spoils me too much. Last week, he took me shopping and told me to buy whatever I wanted. He even picked out my wedding shoes himself. Can you believe it?" Fatima forced a laugh. "You're blessed, my dear." Adeyabi continued to chatter about her wedding plans, her voice high and cheerful. Fatima nodded at the right moments, pretending to listen. Inside, her heart twisted with anger and jealousy. She hated how Adeyabi talked so freely about her happiness, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. As if she deserved it. "You know," Fatima said slowly, her mind racing, "I want to do something special for you." Adeyabi looked at her reflection in the mirror, her eyes curious. "Special? What do you mean?" Fatima put on her best smile, letting her voice drop to a conspiratorial whisper. "I want to give you a special bridal hair treatment, just for you. For free. It's my little gift to you for your wedding." Adeyabi's eyes widened. "Really? Oh my gosh, that's so generous of you." Fatima waved her hand dismissively. "It's nothing. You've been a loyal customer for so long. I just want you to look your best on your special day." Adeyabi's face lit up with gratitude. "Thank you so much, Auntie Fatima. You're the best." Fatima's smile grew wider, but her eyes remained cold. "We'll do it the day before your wedding. It will make your hair so shiny and beautiful. But we'll do it privately. No distractions. Just you and me." Adeyabi nodded eagerly. "Of course. I trust you completely." Fatima's heart raced with excitement. She could already see it happening in her mind. Adeyabi sitting in her chair, blindfolded, trusting her completely. And then, her fingers tingled with anticipation. She could feel the weight of the old bag hidden under her counter. Inside, the snake waited patiently, its body coiled and ready. It was a special snake, one that moved without a sound. Its bite was deadly but slow. It wouldn't kill Adeyabi right away. No, it would take its time, spreading poison slowly through her body, making it look like a sudden illness. No one would ever suspect a thing. Fatima's smile softened as she finished styling Adeyabi's hair. She brushed the long, silky strands with gentle strokes, watching them shine under the fluorescent lights. Adeyabi admired herself in the mirror, turning her head from side to side. "I look so beautiful. You're really the best, Auntie Fatima," Adeyabi gushed, her voice full of admiration. "I can't wait for the special treatment. I'll look like a queen at my wedding." Fatima's fingers tightened around the brush, but her voice was smooth and calm. Yes, you'll look perfect. Just wait and see. Adeobi's phone rang, breaking the moment. She glanced at the screen and smiled. It's Chike. He must be missing me already, she said, her voice dripping with love. She quickly answered, her voice soft and playful. Hello. Yes, I'm just finishing up at the salon. No, I didn't keep you waiting. Okay, see you soon. She ended the call and stood up, smoothing her dress. I have to go, Auntie Fatima. Thank you so much. I can't wait for the special treatment. You're too kind. Fatima's lips curved into a thin smile. Anything for you, my dear. I'll see you soon. As Adeobi walked out of the salon, her long hair bouncing behind her, Fatima's eyes followed her, cold and calculating. She waited until Adeobi was out of sight before she reached under the counter and pulled out the old bag. She ran her fingers over its rough surface, feeling the faint vibrations from within. She opened it slightly, just enough to see the snake's gleaming eyes staring back at her, unblinking. Fatima's smile grew wider, her teeth showing. She whispered softly, her voice low and sweet. Soon, my friend. Very soon. She closed the bag gently and placed it back under the counter, patting it as if it were a sleeping child. Then, she stood up and started cleaning the salon, humming a soft tune under her breath. Her heart felt light, almost happy. She could already picture Adeobi's beautiful face twisted in pain, her shiny hair dulling as the poison took over. Fatima sighed, feeling the bitterness in her chest melt away. Yes, very soon. Adeobi would learn that beauty was nothing but a curse. And Fatima would be there, smiling, to watch her fall. After Adeobi left the salon, Fatima locked the door behind her. She turned the sign to closed and pulled the blinds down over the windows. The small hair salon, which had been bright and lively just minutes before, now felt dark and quiet. The only light came from a dim bulb hanging from the ceiling, casting long shadows on the walls. Fatima moved slowly, her steps quiet on the tiled floor. She walked to the back of the salon, where an old wooden chair sat in the corner. She sat down, her weight making the chair creak. Her hands rested on her lap, but they twitched slightly, her fingers curling and uncurling. She took a deep breath and reached under the counter, pulling out the worn, brown bag. The leather was cracked and faded, its straps held together with old thread. She placed the bag on her lap, her fingers tracing the rough surface. "Are you ready, my friend?" she whispered, her voice soft and almost kind. She slowly unzipped the bag, the sound sharp in the quiet room. Inside, nestled in dark cloth, lay the snake. Its body was coiled tightly, its black scales smooth and shiny. Its eyes were small and dark, reflecting the dim light. It did not move, but Fatima could feel its warmth through the cloth. The snake was not just an ordinary snake. It was special. It had been given to her by her grandmother many years ago. Fatima could still remember the day clearly, even though she had been just a child. Her grandmother had been a small woman with sharp eyes and a voice like gravel. She had taken Fatima's hand and led her into the forest behind their village. The trees had been tall and dark, their branches twisting like fingers in the sky. Fatima had felt cold, even though the sun was shining. "Do you see this?" her grandmother had said, holding the snake in her hands. "This is not a normal snake. It carries a curse, a slow poison. It is a gift and a weapon. You must use it wisely." Fatima had been afraid, but her grandmother had only smiled, her lips thin and pale. "One day, you will understand," she had said. "When the world shows you its true face, you will need this." And now, all these years later, Fatima understood. She had needed the snake more than she had ever known. It had become her friend, her secret. It had helped her make the world pay for its cruelty, for its beauty. She reached into the bag and gently touched the snake. Its body was warm, its skin smooth under her fingers. It moved slowly, uncoiling itself, its head lifting to look at her. Its tongue flicked out, tasting the air. "Shoo," Fatima whispered. "Soon. Very soon." The snake settled back down, its body curling into a tight circle. Fatima covered it with the cloth and closed the bag, zipping it up slowly. She placed the bag back under the counter and stood up, brushing her hands on her apron. Her mind drifted back to Adeobi. She could still see the girl's bright smile, the way her eyes sparkled when she talked about her wedding. The memory made Fatima's chest tighten, a sharp pain that felt like a thorn digging into her heart. "Why do they get everything?" she muttered, her voice low. "Why do they get love and happiness and beauty? What about me?" She moved to the mirror and looked at her reflection. The woman staring back at her was not beautiful. Her skin was rough, her hair thin and dull. Her eyes were small, surrounded by dark shadows. She touched her face, her fingers pressing against the sagging skin. "They don't see me," she said, her voice shaking. "They never see me." Her eyes narrowed, her lips pulling back into a snarl. "But they will. They will all see me. When they are lying in their beds, dying slowly, they will think of me. They will know that beauty is a lie." She turned away from the mirror, her movements sharp and angry. She began to clean the salon, her hands working quickly. She wiped the counters, swept the floor, and arranged the hair products neatly on the shelves. As she worked, her mind spun with plans and whispers, her thoughts dark and twisted. Outside, the sky began to darken, the sun slipping below the horizon. The street grew quiet, the shops closing one by one. But Fatima did not notice. She was lost in her own world, a world where beauty was a weapon and kindness was a trap. Hours passed, and still, she moved through the salon, her steps soft and steady. She hummed a low tune under her breath, a song her grandmother used to sing. The words were lost to her now, but the melody remained, a thin thread connecting her to the past. Finally, when the moon hung high in the sky, she sat down again in the old wooden chair. Her hands lay still in her lap, her breathing slow and even. She closed her eyes, letting the darkness wash over her. And in the quiet of the salon, with only the dim light and the shadows for company, Fatima dreamed. She dreamed of beautiful girls with long, shiny hair. She dreamed of their bright eyes, their wide smiles. She dreamed of their voices, sweet and light, filling the room with laughter. And then she dreamed of silence. A deep, heavy silence that swallowed everything. Her lips curled into a small, peaceful smile. "Yes," she whispered. "Soon." She stood up, her body moving slowly, as if underwater. She walked to the door and peered through the blinds. The street was empty, the world quiet and still. She turned the sign back to "Open," her fingers brushing the glass gently. Tomorrow, she thought. Tomorrow, the salon would be open again. Tomorrow, more beautiful girls would come, their faces full of hope and joy. And tomorrow, the snake would wake once more. Fatima stepped back, her eyes lingering on the door. She took a deep breath, her chest rising and falling slowly. She felt calm, her mind clear. She had a plan. She had a purpose. And she would see it through. Turning off the lights, she moved through the darkened salon, her steps light and graceful. She reached the back room, where a small bed lay against the wall. She sat down, pulling a thin blanket over her legs. Her eyes closed, and within minutes, she was asleep. Her breathing was soft, her face relaxed. She looked almost peaceful, almost kind. But under the bed, tucked away in the old bag, the snake lay awake. Its body coiled tightly, its eyes open and unblinking. And in the silence of the night, it waited. It waited for the morning. It waited for the next beautiful girl. And it waited for Fatima's call. The sun was bright the next morning, its golden light spilling through the windows of Fatima's salon. She opened the door, the bells above it chiming softly. She wore her usual apron, its pockets filled with combs and clips. Her face was blank, her eyes cold and empty. She swept the floor, wiped the mirrors, and arranged the hair products neatly on the shelves. Everything was in place, clean and perfect, just the way she liked it. She glanced at the old bag under the counter, her fingers itching to touch it, to feel the warm body of the snake inside. But she resisted. Not yet. Not until Adayabi arrived. As if on cue, the door swung open, and Adayabi walked in, her smile bright and cheerful. "Good morning, Auntie Fatima," she sang, her voice full of joy. Fatima forced a smile. "Good morning, my dear. You're right on time." Adayabi's face was glowing with excitement. She was wearing a light pink dress that hugged her slim figure perfectly, her long hair flowing down her back in shiny waves. Her skin looked like polished gold under the sunlight, smooth and flawless. Fatima's chest tightened, her heart twisting with envy. But she kept her face calm, her voice soft and sweet. "Are you ready for your special treatment?" Adayabi's eyes sparkled. "I've been thinking about it all week. You're too kind, Auntie Fatima. I can't wait to see how beautiful my hair will look." Fatima's lips curved into a thin smile. "You look like a queen," she said softly. "Just sit down and relax. I'll take care of everything." Adayabi giggled and sat down in the big, comfortable chair, her back straight and her shoulders relaxed. Fatima tied a cape around her neck, her fingers brushing against Adayabi's smooth skin. It was warm and soft, just like she knew it would be. She ran her hands through Adayabi's hair, feeling its thickness, its softness. It was perfect, like silk flowing through her fingers. She could feel her chest burning with jealousy, her throat tightening. Why did Adayabi get to be so beautiful? Why did she get everything? She picked up a comb and started detangling Adayabi's hair, moving slowly, carefully. "Your hair is so beautiful," she said, her voice low. "So shiny, so soft." Adayabi laughed, her voice light and happy. "I'm lucky, I guess. My mom always says I got it from my grandmother. She had hair just like mine." Fatima's hands tightened around the comb. "You're very lucky," she whispered. "Not everyone is so blessed." Adayabi didn't notice the bitterness in Fatima's voice. She was too busy talking about her wedding, her eyes bright with excitement. "I can't wait for the big day. Chaik is going to love my dress. It's so beautiful, just like a princess dress. And the way it flows. Oh, Auntie Fatima, you should see it. I feel like a fairy tale bride." Fatima's smile was tight, her jaw clenched. "I'm sure you'll be the most beautiful bride anyone has ever seen," she said, her voice cold and sharp. Adayabi's face softened, her eyes dreamy. "I can't believe it's finally happening. I've dreamed about this day my whole life. I'm so happy, Auntie Fatima. So happy." Fatima's chest ached, her fingers trembling as she combed Adayabi's hair. "Happy," she said it so easily, as if happiness was her right, as if she deserved it just because she was beautiful. Fatima forced herself to breathe, to stay calm. She could feel the weight of the old bag under the counter, the faint vibrations of the snake waiting inside. Soon, she thought. Very soon. She continued working on Adayabi's hair, washing it gently, massaging her scalp. Adayabi closed her eyes, sighing with pleasure. "Your hands are magic, Auntie Fatima. This feels amazing." Fatima's lips twitched. "I'm glad you're enjoying it. There's more to come." Adayabi laughed softly. "You're spoiling me. I feel so special." Fatima's eyes darkened. "You are special," she said, her voice low. "That's why you deserve this." She finished washing Adayabi's hair and wrapped it in a towel. "Now, for the special cream," she said, her tone light and playful. "This will make your hair shine like the sun." Adayabi's eyes sparkled. "Really? Oh, I can't wait." Fatima reached into her drawer and pulled out a long, black cloth. "I need to blindfold you for this part. It's a secret formula. No one must see it." Adayabi's laughter filled the room. "You're so funny, Auntie Fatima. All right, I promise I won't peek." Fatima wrapped the cloth around Adayabi's eyes, tying it tightly at the back. Adayabi sat still, her face calm and trusting. "Is it too tight?" Fatima asked, her voice soft. "No, it's fine. I can't see anything," Adayabi replied, her voice cheerful. Fatima's heart raced. Her fingers tingled with anticipation. She walked slowly to the counter, her eyes fixed on the old bag. She could feel her pulse quickening, her breath coming in short gasps. This was it. This was the moment. She bent down and unzipped the bag, her movements slow and careful. The snake lay coiled inside, its body warm and smooth. Its eyes flicked open, dark and shiny. It lifted its head, its tongue flicking out, tasting the air. Fatima whispered softly, her voice gentle. "It's time, my friend." The snake moved, uncoiling itself, its body sliding out of the bag without a sound. It was long and sleek, its scales shimmering under the light. It moved gracefully, its head low, its eyes fixed on Adeabi. Adeabi sat still, her hands resting on her lap, her head tilted back, completely unaware. "I feel so relaxed," she murmured, her voice soft and dreamy. "You're the best, Auntie Fatima." Fatima's lips curved into a smile. "I'm glad you think so." The snake moved closer, its body sliding across the floor silently. It stopped just behind Adeabi, its head lifting, its tongue flicking out. Fatima's heart pounded, her hands shaking with excitement. Adeabi sighed, her shoulders relaxing. "I feel like I could fall asleep right here." Fatima's eyes glittered. "Go ahead, my dear. Close your eyes and rest." The snake moved swiftly, its body curling around the back of the chair, its head lowering towards Adeabi's neck. It opened its mouth, revealing sharp, thin fangs. Fatima held her breath, her eyes wide with anticipation. This was the moment she had been waiting for. The moment when beauty would fall, and she would be the one to bring it down. The snake struck, its fangs sinking into Adeabi's neck. She gasped, her body tensing, but the bite was quick, painless. She didn't even scream. Her head fell back, her breathing slow and steady, her body relaxing once more. Fatima's smile grew wider. The poison was working. It would spread slowly, taking its time, weakening her body little by little. No one would suspect a thing. They would think it was just an illness, just a fever. Adeabi sighed again, her lips curving into a soft smile. "This feels so good," she whispered. "I feel so tired." Fatima's eyes softened, her voice low and tender. "Rest, my dear. You've earned it." She watched as Adeabi's body went limp, her breathing even and calm. The snake uncurled itself, sliding back into the bag without a sound. Fatima zipped the bag closed, her fingers gentle, almost loving. She placed it under the counter and turned back to Adeabi, her face calm, her eyes cold. "It's done," she whispered. "It's all done." And with that, she began to style Adeabi's hair, her hands moving swiftly, skillfully, as if nothing had happened at all. The sun was bright and cheerful on the morning of Adeabi's wedding day. The sky was clear, the air was warm, and the birds were singing. It was the perfect day for a wedding. Inside Adeabi's family house, the rooms were filled with laughter and excitement. Women moved around in colorful dresses, carrying trays of food and bags of gifts. The air was filled with the sweet smell of flowers and perfume. But Adeabi was lying on her bed, her eyes half open, her face pale and tired. Her breathing was slow, each breath sounding like a soft sigh. Her hair was styled beautifully, just as Fatima had promised. It flowed around her face like a black waterfall, shiny and smooth. But her face looked sickly, her skin dull, her lips pale. Her mother, Mama Adeabi, rushed into the room, her face filled with worry. "Adeabi! Adeabi, are you awake?" She sat on the edge of the bed, placing her hand on Adeabi's forehead. It was burning hot. "Mama," Adeabi's voice was weak, barely a whisper. "I feel so tired." Mama Adeabi's eyes widened with fear. "But today is your wedding day. Everyone is waiting for you. Chaik is waiting for you." Adeabi's eyes fluttered, her vision blurry. I don't feel well. I'm so tired. I can't move." Mama Adeabi touched her daughter's cheek, her hands trembling. "Your body is so hot. You must have a fever." She looked around the room, her heart racing. "Adeabi, don't scare me. Get up." Adeabi's eyes closed slowly, her breathing shallow. "I just need to rest. I'm so sleepy." Mama Adeabi screamed, her voice high and shaky. "Somebody help. Adeabi is sick." Women rushed into the room, their faces pale with worry. Auntie Neka grabbed Adeabi's hand, her fingers cold against Adeabi's hot skin. "What's wrong with her? She was fine yesterday." Mama Adeabi shook her head, tears running down her cheeks. "I don't know. She was fine. She was laughing and happy. And now she's burning up." One of the women ran to get the doctor, her footsteps echoing through the house. Mama Adeabi held Adeabi's hand, her lips moving in silent prayers. "Please God, Please, don't take my daughter. Not today, not on her wedding day. Adeobi's breathing grew weaker, her chest barely rising. Her lips moved, her voice so soft it was almost a whisper. I love. Her voice faded, her head falling to the side, her body limp. Mama Adeobi screamed, shaking Adeobi's shoulders. Adeobi! Wake up! Wake up! The doctor rushed in, his face grim as he checked Adeobi's pulse, his fingers pressing against her wrist. His eyes darkened, his mouth a tight line. He shook his head slowly. No! Mama Adeobi sobbed, her body shaking. No! This can't be! It's her wedding day! The room was filled with cries and screams, women wailing and holding each other. Auntie Neka fell to her knees, her hands covering her face. She was so young, so beautiful, but why did this happen? The doctor covered Adeobi's body with a white sheet, his shoulders heavy with sorrow. I don't understand, he said, his voice low. She was perfectly healthy. It must have been a sudden illness, maybe fever, or something more. Chaik arrived, his face bright with excitement. Is Adeobi ready? Everyone is waiting at the church. He stopped at the door, his smile fading as he saw the crying women, the white sheet covering Adeobi's body. His heart stopped. He stumbled into the room, his eyes wide with horror. No. This isn't happening. Adeobi, wake up. He threw himself on the bed, pulling the sheet off her face. Her skin was pale, her eyes closed, her body cold. Adeobi, please, wake up. It's our wedding day. You promised we would be together. His voice broke, tears streaming down his face. Please, Adeobi, please don't leave me. The room was filled with sorrow, the sound of crying echoing through the walls. Outside, the sun continued to shine, the birds continued to sing, completely unaware of the pain inside the house. Fatima stood outside the gate, her eyes cold and empty. She watched the people crying, her lips curling into a thin smile. Perfect, she whispered. Everything went perfectly. She turned and walked away, her steps light and quick. No one noticed her. No one saw the satisfaction in her eyes. No one knew that she was the reason for the sorrow inside the house. She walked back to her salon, her heart light, her mind calm. She opened the door, stepping into the dim room. She locked the door behind her, pulling the blinds down. She moved to the counter and pulled out the old bag, her fingers brushing against its rough surface. She unzipped the bag slowly, her eyes gleaming. The snake lay coiled inside, its body warm, its eyes dark and shiny. It looked up at her, its tongue flicking out. Fatima's voice was low, her words soft and sweet. You did well, my friend. You did very well. The snake's body moved, uncoiling itself, its head lowering. It seemed to understand her, its body relaxing under her touch. Fatima smiled, her fingers stroking its smooth scales. Another one down. Another beautiful girl gone. Another happy bride turned to dust. She leaned closer, her eyes narrowing. They don't deserve happiness. They don't deserve beauty. Not when I have nothing. Not when I am alone. She sat down on the old wooden chair, her hands resting on her lap. Her eyes stared at the wall, her mind drifting back to her own past. She could still see the faces of the girls who laughed at her when she was young, their pretty faces twisted in mockery. She could still hear their voices, sharp and cruel. Fatima, the ugly one. Fatima, the fat one. No one will ever marry you. No one will ever love you. Her chest tightened, her heart burning with old pain. They were wrong, she whispered. I showed them. I showed them all. She looked down at the snake, its body curled comfortably in her lap. And I will show the rest of them. I will show them that beauty is nothing. That happiness is a lie. Her fingers tightened around the snake, her nails digging into its scales. They think they are special. They think they are better than me. But they are nothing. Nothing but weak, foolish girls. She lifted the snake, holding it up to her face. Its eyes met hers, unblinking, cold. Together, we will bring them down. One by one. Until no one is left to laugh. Until no one is left to smile. Her voice dropped to a whisper, her lips curling into a cruel smile. They will all fall. Just like a Dayabi. She placed the snake back into the bag, zipping it up gently. She stood up, her body straight, her shoulders high. She felt powerful, strong. She felt alive. As she turned off the lights and locked the door, her heart was light, her mind at peace. She knew that no one would suspect her. No one would ever know. Because she was just Fatima, the ugly hairstylist. The one no one looked at. The one no one saw. And that was her greatest weapon. It had been 2 weeks since Adayabi's death, and the whole neighborhood was still talking about it. People shook their heads and whispered about how sad it was, how unfair it was for such a young and beautiful bride to die just before her wedding day. Some said it was a curse. Others blamed evil spirits. But no one knew the truth. No one suspected Fatima. Fatima kept her head down, pretending to be sad whenever people talked about Adayabi. She even visited Adayabi's mother once, bringing food and murmuring words of comfort. She cried fake tears and hugged Mama Adayabi, feeling the woman's body shake with grief. Inside, Fatima felt nothing. No pity, no guilt, no sadness. She had gotten rid of another beautiful girl, and no one suspected a thing. It was perfect. As she sat in her salon one morning, sweeping the floor and humming softly to herself, the door opened and a young woman walked in. Fatima looked up, her eyes widening slightly. The girl was beautiful. She was tall and slim, her skin smooth and glowing. Her hair was long and curly, bouncing around her shoulders with every step. Her eyes were bright and cheerful, her lips full and pink. She looked like a doll, perfect and flawless. Fatima's heart tightened with jealousy, but she forced a smile. "Good morning. Welcome to my salon. How can I help you today?" The girl smiled back, her teeth white and straight. "Good morning, Auntie Fatima. My name is Ngozi. I just moved to this neighborhood, and everyone says you're the best hairstylist around." Fatima's smile grew wider, her eyes cold and calculating. "Oh, you flatter me. It's nice to meet you, Ngozi. Please, have a seat." Ngozi sat down in the big chair, her hair bouncing as she moved. "I'm getting married next month, and I want my hair to look perfect. I want to look beautiful for my big day." Fatima's fingers tightened around the comb, her chest burning with anger. Another one. Another pretty girl with a perfect life, about to marry the man of her dreams. Another girl who would get everything Fatima never had. She forced herself to breathe, to stay calm. "Congratulations, my dear. You must be very excited." Ngozi's face lit up. "Oh, I am. I can't wait. Kenichukwu, my fiancé, is the best man in the world. He treats me like a queen. I'm so lucky to have him." Fatima's eyes darkened, but she kept her voice soft and sweet. "You are indeed lucky. Not every woman finds a good man." Ngozi laughed, a light, musical sound that made Fatima's skin crawl. "I know, right? But Kenichukwu is different. He loves me so much. He says I'm the most beautiful woman he's ever seen." Fatima's chest tightened, her heart burning with envy. Of course he did. Of course, a man would love a beautiful woman like Ngozi. But no man had ever said that to Fatima. No man had ever even looked at her twice. She took a deep breath, forcing herself to smile. "Well, you certainly are beautiful, my dear. And you deserve the best on your wedding day." Ngozi blushed, her cheeks turning pink. "Thank you, Auntie Fatima. You're so kind." Fatima's eyes gleamed, her fingers trembling with excitement. "I want to do something special for you, just like I did for Adayabi." Ngozi's eyes widened. "Adayabi? I heard about her. Such a sad story. She was so beautiful. I can't believe she died just before her wedding. It's heartbreaking." Fatima nodded, pretending to look sad. Yes, it was a terrible tragedy. She was such a sweet girl. I wanted her to look perfect for her wedding, so I gave her a special hair treatment. I want to do the same for you as my gift. Ngozi's face lit up. Really? Oh my gosh, that's so generous. Are you sure? Fatima's smile grew wider. Of course, my dear. It's my way of blessing your marriage. We'll do it the day before your wedding in private. Just you and me. It will make your hair shine like gold. Ngozi clapped her hands in excitement. Wow, I feel so special. Thank you, Auntie Fatima. You're the best. Fatima's eyes glittered, her voice low and sweet. Anything for you, my dear. I just want you to be the most beautiful bride. Ngozi grinned, her face glowing with happiness. I can't wait. My friends are going to be so jealous. Fatima's chest tightened, her heart pounding with anticipation. Yes, they would be jealous. They would all watch as Ngozi walked down the aisle, looking like a queen. And then they would watch her fall just like a deity. She continued styling Ngozi's hair, her hands moving skillfully, her face calm and serene. Inside, her mind spun with plans, her thoughts dark and twisted. She could already see it happening, the snake sinking its fangs into Ngozi's neck, the poison spreading slowly through her body, making her weak, making her fall. Ngozi kept talking, her voice cheerful and bright. Kenechukwa's family is flying in from America. They're all so excited to see me. I want to look perfect for them. I want them to love me as much as he does. Fatima's jaw clenched, her fingers tightening around the comb. Of course, my dear. You deserve to be loved. Ngozi beamed. I do, don't I? I mean, every girl dreams of a perfect wedding. I'm so lucky to have everything I ever wanted. Fatima's smile wavered, her chest burning with rage. But that word again. But beautiful. Papi. She hated that word. She hated everything about it. She forced herself to breathe, to stay calm. Yes, you are lucky. And you will be the most beautiful bride. Ngozi's eyes sparkled. Thanks to you, Auntie Fatima. I'm so glad I came here. Fatima's lips curled into a cold smile. Me too, my dear. Me too. She finished styling Ngozi's hair, watching it bounce and shine under the light. It was perfect, silky and smooth, just like a dayabase. It would look even better when it was lying still, lifeless, dull. She touched the hair gently, her fingers sliding through the curls. You have beautiful hair, Ngozi. It's like silk. Ngozi giggled. Oh, stop it. You're making me blush. Fatima's eyes gleamed. I'm just telling the truth. You are truly blessed. Ngozi stood up, admiring herself in the mirror. I love it. You're amazing, Auntie Fatima. I can't wait for the special treatment. I'll look like a queen. Fatima's smile grew wider, her eyes cold and calculating. Yes, my dear. You will look perfect. Just wait and see. Ngozi hugged her, her body warm and soft. Fatima stood still, her arms stiff by her sides. She hated the feel of Ngozi's perfect skin, the smell of her sweet perfume. Ngozi pulled away, her face glowing. Thank you again. I'll see you the day before my wedding. Fatima watched as Ngozi walked out of the salon, her hair bouncing, her head held high. She stood there, staring at the door long after Ngozi was gone, her heart pounding with excitement. Another one. Another beautiful girl who would fall. Fatima's lips curled into a smile, her eyes cold and empty. Yes, she whispered. Another one down. Another one to fall. She turned and walked to the counter, her movements slow and graceful. She touched the old bag, her fingers brushing against the rough leather. Inside, the snake waited, its body coiled, its eyes dark and shiny. She could feel it moving, feel its power, its hunger. And she knew that very soon it would feed again. Amara sat on her sister's bed, holding Adeabi's wedding dress against her chest. The soft, white fabric was cold in her hands, the lace delicate and beautiful. It was the dress Adeabi had dreamed of wearing as she walked down the aisle. But that day never came. Adeabi was gone. Tears ran down Amara's face, her shoulders shaking as she tried to hold back her sobs. She could still see Adeabi's smile, bright and full of joy. She could still hear her laughter, light and musical. But now, the house was quiet, heavy with sadness. "Mama, why did this happen?" Amara's voice was shaky, her heart aching with pain. Adeabi was fine. She was happy and healthy. How did she just die like that? Mama Adeabi stood by the window, her face pale, her eyes swollen from crying. "I don't know, my child. I don't understand it either." She was perfectly fine the day before. Her voice broke, and she covered her face with her hands, her body shaking with grief. "God, why did you take my baby? Why?" Amara wiped her tears, her fingers trembling. She was so happy. She was so excited about her wedding. She couldn't stop talking about it. She couldn't wait to marry Chaik. Mama Adeabi turned away from the window, her shoulders slumped. They said it was fever, a sudden sickness that took her away. Amara shook her head, her eyebrows knitting together. No, that doesn't make sense. Adeabi was strong. She never got sick. Not like that. Not suddenly, not just like that. Mama Adeabi's eyes were tired, her voice weak. Sometimes things just happen. Maybe it was a curse. Maybe it was fate. Amara's chest tightened, anger rising inside her. No, I don't believe that. Something's wrong. This doesn't feel right. Something happened to her. Mama Adeabi sighed, her shoulders heavy. We have to accept it, Amara. We have to let her rest in peace. Amara shook her head again, her hands clutching the dress tightly. I can't just accept it. I can't just forget about her. I need to know why. I need to know what happened to my sister. She stood up, her eyes burning with determination. I'm going to find out. I'm going to find out what killed Adeabi. Mama Adeabi looked at her, her eyes full of pain. Let it go. Don't open old wounds. Amara's face hardened, her voice firm. I can't. I won't. Not until I know the truth. She turned and walked out of the room, her heart heavy but her mind made up. She wouldn't rest until she knew what had happened to her sister. She wouldn't rest until she found the answers she needed. Maybe it was a curse. Maybe it was fate. Amara's chest tightened, anger rising inside her. No, I don't believe that. Something's wrong. This doesn't feel right. Something happened to her. Mama Adeabi sighed, her shoulders heavy. We have to accept it, Amara. We have to let her rest in peace. Amara shook her head again, her hands clutching the dress tightly. I can't just accept it. I can't just forget about her. I need to know why. I need to know what happened to my sister. She stood up, her eyes burning with determination. I'm going to find out. I'm going to find out what killed Adeabi. Mama Adeabi looked at her, her eyes full of pain. Let it go. Don't open old wounds. Amara's face hardened, her voice firm. I can't. I won't. Not until I know the truth. She turned and walked out of the room, her heart heavy but her mind made up. She wouldn't rest until she knew what had happened to her sister. She wouldn't rest until she found the answers she needed. She walked down the street, her steps fast and steady. She knew exactly where to start. She remembered Adeabi's excitement, her bright eyes when she talked about her free hair treatment. Auntie Fatima is so nice. She's giving me a special hair treatment for free. Just for me, Adeabi had said, her voice full of joy. Amara's jaw tightened. A free hair treatment. A private session, just Adeabi and Fatima. And then, the next day, Adayabi was sick. Her heart raced, suspicion growing inside her. Was it just a coincidence? Or was there something more? She reached Fatima's salon and stood outside, her eyes narrowing as she looked at the door. It was closed, the blinds pulled down. The sign read closed, but Amara could hear movement inside. She took a deep breath and knocked on the door, her fingers tapping lightly on the glass. After a moment, the door opened, and Fatima stood there, her face blank, her eyes cold. "Oh, Amara, what are you doing here?" Amara forced a smile, her voice calm. "I was just passing by and thought I'd check on you. I know Adayabi was close to you. I wanted to see how you were doing." Fatima's face softened, her lips curving into a small smile. "Oh, thank you, my dear. That's very thoughtful of you." She stepped aside, her hand gesturing towards the empty salon. "Come in. Let's talk." Amara stepped inside, her eyes scanning the room. Everything looked normal. The chairs were neatly arranged, the shelves lined with hair products. But something felt off. The air was cold, heavy, almost like a shadow hung in the room. Fatima closed the door, her movements slow and graceful. It was such a tragedy. Poor Adayabi. She was such a sweet girl. Amara looked at Fatima, her eyes narrowing slightly. She was fine when she came here. Did she say anything about feeling sick? Fatima shook her head, her face calm. No. She was perfectly fine. We laughed and talked. She was so excited about her wedding. Amara's chest tightened. Then how did she fall sick so suddenly? She was so healthy. Fatima's eyes darkened, her smile fading. Sometimes, things just happen. Life is cruel that way. Amara watched Fatima closely, her heart racing. Something about Fatima's calmness felt wrong. Too cold. Too empty. She was so excited about the special treatment you gave her. She said you wanted to make her look perfect. Fatima's eyes flickered, just for a moment, before she smiled again. Yes, I wanted her to look like a queen. It was my gift to her. Amara's eyes narrowed. And you were alone? Just you and her? Fatima's smile tightened. Just, I wanted it to be special. Private. Just for her. Amara's stomach churned, suspicion growing. Did she say anything about feeling dizzy? Tired? Fatima's face was blank, her voice calm. No. She was happy. Laughing. Smiling. Until she left. Amara swallowed hard, her mind racing. Could it really be a coincidence? Or was there something Fatima wasn't saying? Fatima stepped closer, her eyes cold and sharp. Why all the questions, Amara? You sound suspicious. Amara's heart skipped a beat, her body tensing. I just want to understand. I can't accept that she just died like that. It doesn't make sense. Fatima's smile returned, cold and cruel. Sometimes things don't make sense. Sometimes life is just unfair. Amara's chest tightened, her skin crawling. There was something in Fatima's eyes, something dark and twisted. Something that sent chills down her spine. She forced a smile, her voice shaking. You're right. Life is unfair. She took a step back, her eyes never leaving Fatima's face. I should go. Thank you for your time, Auntie Fatima. Fatima's smile grew wider, her eyes gleaming. Of course, my dear. Anytime. Amara turned and walked out of the salon, her heart pounding. As she stepped into the sunlight, her body shivered, her skin cold. She knew deep down that something was wrong. Something was very, very wrong. She looked back at the salon, her eyes narrowing. Fatima was watching her through the window, her face blank, her eyes cold and empty. Amara's chest tightened, fear curling in her stomach. She didn't have proof. Not yet. But she was going to find it. She was going to find out what happened to her sister. even if it meant facing the darkness behind Fatima's cold eyes. This is the end of episode 1 of this story. Here are some questions. What did Fatima do to Adeyabi during the special hair treatment? Will Amara be able to find proof before it's too late? Is Ngozi the next victim, or will Amara save her in time? All these questions will be answered in the next episode. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens next.